Some women are quick to ask for a helping hand. They like others to do their dirty work. How does a cheating wife's desire for adventure end?
Welcome home.
Somebody is always going to be left out, going to be hurt. Do it!
You calm down.
Why sharing boyfriends is a dangerous game.
This is the most complex and tangled web that I've ever faced.
And what drives an old-time seductress
Don't be shy.
to kill?
She wanted to be free, and this was how to do it.
These deadly women. A cold-hearted question. Will you murder for me? Not many teens are bold enough to travel cross-country on a whim. But 18-year-old Monique Wheeler is different.
Monique was outgoing, loved being the center of attention.
For Monique, every day has to be a new adventure. In 1999, it's a romantic rendezvous she arranges online.
You're really here. Of course.
She went from the East Coast to the West Coast to be with a woman that she'd only known for a couple of weeks. Very impulsive, very high risk.
Monique had plenty of boyfriends. Now she wants something different.
You know, I've never been with a girl before. Serious?
Monique wasn't sure what she wanted in a relationship or in a person. She thought she might be bisexual,
My little lesbian virgin.
although she'd never had a lesbian affair.
Within months, she wants more. She wants a wedding.
They had a commitment ceremony in California. Monique dressed as the bride.
You may kiss your bride.
But just months after tying the knot, Monique is already looking for new excitement
Hardly champagne, but congratulations.
and finds it in Paul Berkeley.
Paul was your all-American guy. He was a soldier. He was a man's man.
Paul, where's your bathroom?
Just down the hall.
Just as quickly as Monique walked down the aisle, she walks into Paul's arms.
Monique ended up going back to Paul's and having a relationship with him.
Is this what you like?
Oh, yeah.
She was a young woman who made very impulsive decisions, especially when it came to her love life.
Soon, she wants to swap her wife for a husband.
I got your wife.
I guess I'll just have to tell her that I met someone else.
Monique had a very romanticized idea of relationships that was very childish.
For Monique, a relationship isn't good enough. It has to be marriage. She marries Paul, and they move to Raleigh, North Carolina, where he has a ready-made family.
Paul, he'd been married and he had 2 teenage children.
Pancakes are ready.
He introduced her,
Becky.
and they liked her. They thought she was a stable influence on their father.
These are really good, Monique.
For 4 years, Monique is happy to play the part of devoted wife and mother. But in 2005, duty calls.
I understand. Well, that is what I signed up for. Middle East?
No, you can't.
He was a naval reservist, so when he was called to the Middle East, he had a tour of duty over there, and he had to leave his family behind.
What am I meant to do without you?
She didn't handle it well. She was very upset.
But not for long. At 26, Monique has a lot in common with her stepchildren and their friends.
She started to hang out with her stepchildren's friends. A lot of them were 8 years younger than she was.
Monique not only wanted to hang out with her stepchildren and their teenage friends, she wanted to be a teenager with them.
And she wants a new thrill. A teenage romance. Eighteen-year-old Andrew Canty can't believe his luck.
Monique was an adult, age-wise. Monique was really probably no more mature than Andrew.
In typical Monique style, she goes all out and moves Andrew into the family home. But the party doesn't last long.
That's amazing. How long for?
So in December, Paul tells Monique he is getting a 2-week leave and he's coming home. And so all of a sudden, Monique has a big problem.
Hey, we're gonna miss the movie.
Shh, not now.
Who's that?
Just one of the kids' friends.
She has to get Andrew Canty out of the house.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
You okay?
Did you hear that?
Yeah. What are we gonna do?
Again, Monique has to choose between the new and the old. And that means one thing.
So Monique starts doing online research
I found this.
about the life insurance policy that Paul has taken out. She is the beneficiary, and she discovers it's worth $400,000.
It's a lot of money.
Enough money for a new life.
The lady wanted money.
December 18th, 2005. Navy reservist Paul Berkeley arrives home from the Middle East.
Welcome home.
He's eager to get reacquainted with his young wife, Monique.
You have to wait. I have a romantic picnic planned first.
She promises her husband a romantic interlude. She says, let's go to dinner, let's go see a movie, and then we'll go to the park together, just me and you.
What are you up to?
You'll have to wait and see. Now go get ready. Go get ready.
So she packs a picnic basket, and in it, she's got wine, candles, blankets, strawberries, and condoms.
It's an odd date. A moonlight picnic in the middle of winter.
Paul apparently wanted to be with Monique under any circumstances because the situation she created was not exactly desirable. But he went.
Paul was shot point blank in the back of the head with a .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol. This was a surprise attack. It was an ambush.
Monique turns her young lover, Andrew Canty, into an assassin.
Okay, I'm ready.
They wanted to make it look like that Monique was also a victim.
Do it!
So Andrew shoots her one time at point blank range in her shoulder.
Go! Just go!
Monique was very confident in everything she decided to do, and that included having herself shot.
Monique calls 911 while her husband clings to life.
He was unconscious. The blood was draining into the back of his throat.
I've just been shot! And my husband...
Listening to Monique on the 911 tape tells you the panic in her voice was real. She hadn't anticipated it was going to be this difficult to listen to somebody die.
Okay! No,
It's very easy to plan a murder. It's very hard to carry one out.
The doctors can't save Paul. The family gathers to say their final farewells. Monique plays the weeping widow, believing her plan has worked perfectly.
Here, she has basically orchestrated her husband's murder, and now she's at his deathbed, holding his hand, while his son is holding the other hand.
It seems Monique has got the money and her boyfriend. There's just one problem. The crime makes no sense.
There's something here that doesn't add up. It doesn't appear to be a random crime, and the most important thing is, what married couple is going to go to a park in the middle of the night when it's cold, dark, and wet?
That is an inconsistency in a story. That part makes you sit up and take notice. Somebody wasn't telling the truth.
Anyone know you were going to the park?
The police have a lot of questions for Monique.
It all happened so fast.
Unfortunately for her, she's been heavily medicated, and that will be her downfall.
Pain medication and sedatives are not truth serum, but they can lower one's inhibitions and anxiety to a point where they feel freer to speak.
Despite all her planning, in her drug-induced haze, Monique confesses everything.
Andrew Canty.
She even rats out her young lover. In 2007, Andrew Canty pleads guilty to first-degree murder and is sentenced to life. Monique Berkeley is also convicted and will spend her life behind bars.
This was a cold-blooded killing. She deserves to be in prison.
Monique's desire for new thrills left a trail of heartbreak and destruction and took the life of a loving man who served his country.
Paul Berkeley survived his deployment in the Middle East without any injury, but he couldn't survive 1 week with his wife, Monique.
When girlfriends swap exes,
You calm down.
This is the most complex and tangled web that I've ever faced.
a fuse is lit
A resentment began to boil inside her.
and a friendship goes up in flames.
People don't get over betrayal.
Wollongong, on Australia's east coast.
Jeez.
39-year-old Wendy Evans is out on the town with her boyfriend, Scott Field.
Wendy viewed her relationship with Scott Field as the most special relationship. He was the one for her. He was the love of her life.
But things aren't going well.
The relationship wasn't easy. Scott was very controlling.
Her colleague, Katie Foreman, witnesses the argument and rushes to Wendy's side.
You calm down.
Are you okay? Yeah. What was that all about?
Nothing. She's just being silly.
Do you want to get out of here? Let's just go.
31-year-old lawyer Katie gives her sound advice.
Katie advised Wendy to break up with Scott.
I'm staying with you. Excuse me. Can I get a glass of wine? Yeah, sure.
She told her that he was abusive, that she didn't like him, and that she was better off with someone else.
Coincidentally, within days, Katie's also single. She dumps her boyfriend, Bradley Rawlinson, after a rocky romance.
Sometimes they were close, sometimes they would fall out. It was quite tumultuous right from the start.
Morning.
Now it's Wendy's turn to comfort her.
What's up?
Nothing. Bradley and I broke up.
Oh, no.
It's not unusual for women to bond together over a common interest or a common problem. In the case of Wendy and Katie, they bonded together over their problems with men.
We'll cheer you up.
In 2010, the two women worked side by side at the local courthouse.
Wendy was working there as an administrative officer, and Katie, as a local solicitor, was there on an almost daily basis.
Great. See you later.
It appears that they developed a firm friendship very quickly.
Relationship woes bond the women. Until one night,
Hello?
Hey. Hi. What are you up to?
Katie's not available to party.
Just, hanging out.
Hey, do you want to go out?
Oh, look, I'm sorry, I can't tonight.
Katie has a special visitor.
Oh. How come?
Wendy's ex, Scott.
It seems pretty clear that there was strong physical attraction between Katie and Scott.
Look, I've really got to go. I'm sorry.
First, Katie advises her close friend to leave the man she was seeing. Then she takes up with him.
It's a secret affair for weeks. Until Katie's ex, Bradley, spots them.
Bradley Rawlinson was furious. He flew into a rage.
I'm embarrassing Mike. You're embarrassing. I'm not the one sitting here patched off with some dude. Let's go. Again, and that's that. Okay, let's go. But again, go on.
Stop it. Just ignore him. It's not worth it.
He was very, very jealous, and he needed an ally.
When Wendy arrives at the bar, Bradley breaks the news.
Hey. You seen Kate?
Yes. She just left with your guy.
My guy. Scott.
Scott.
Wendy was incensed. She was outraged. I don't think the feelings she had for Scott ever really left her.
When Wendy found out,
I can't believe she did that.
must have felt like an incredible betrayal. And people don't get over betrayal.
Wendy and Bradley don't just want to bond with each other. They want revenge.
There was no way this was going to have a happy ending.
Wollongong, Australia. when 31-year-old lawyer Katie Foreman hooks up with Scott Field, a friendship blows up.
You're embarrassing yourself.
I'm not the one sitting here passionate off with somebody.
Get out of here. That's enough. Stop.
I trusted her.
Wendy Evans should just walk away from her old flame, but she can't.
Sharing partners can be tricky. It can stir up a lot of emotions people didn't even know they had.
She decides to give Katie a taste of her own medicine with Katie's ex, Bradley Rawlinson.
Their relationship became sexual, and Wendy, by all accounts, was completely smitten.
Now Wendy and Bradley plot their revenge.
Sure you're gonna be alright with this?
With the assistance of career criminal Bernard Spicer.
He's half.
He would be paid $3,000.
You get the rest when it's done.
They plan every aspect.
So we getting in. She still trusts me.
And they want Katie to suffer.
They purchased petrol at one petrol station. They went to a separate petrol station to purchase the firelighters. What time is it?
On the night of October 27th, 2011, Wendy and Bernard arrive at Katie's home. Bradley's absent. He makes sure he has an alibi.
Wendy had the keys. She opened the door. The room was up the stairs, so they both went up.
It's 2:20 a.m. Katie Foreman is sound asleep in her bed.
Bernard poured the petrol around. Then asked her to light the firelighter. An enormous blaze quickly occurred. It's pretty clear that when the fire started, Katie Foreman was asleep in her bed.
As Wendy and Bernard leave the roaring blaze, neighbors hear a woman giggling.
Wendy was delighted with what she had done, and that at the moment she was laughing, Katie was dying a horrible, horrible death.
Katie must have experienced extraordinary terror, fear, and pain. To wake from being sound asleep, to discover that your room is alight, your bed is alight. She tried desperately to escape.
Emergency services arrive, but it's too late.
She was found just outside the doorway of the room. The cause of death was a combination of enormous heat and suffocation by breathing in fumes.
A talented young lawyer's life taken by insane jealousy.
Katie's got her man. It was all Katie's fault, as Wendy saw it, and as Bradley was telling her to see it.
But the sad truth is, Katie and Scott had split up weeks earlier. It was nothing more than a very brief fling. Investigators soon discover it's a sloppy crime scene.
Wendy dropped 2 of the house keys to Katie's home. This immediately pointed to somebody who had access to the home.
eyes turn to Katie's ex, Bradley.
Bradley Rawlinson ensured that he had a watertight alibi. He was nowhere near the murder scene when it occurred.
But he's left a digital trail. The police discovered dozens of incriminating text messages to Wendy.
Conversations back and forth in which they discussed the case and discussed the murder were picked up by police, and they were damning evidence at the trial.
Apparently went over Bradley's head that the police would be looking at all the text messages and figure out exactly what happened and who was behind it.
And the most damaging message of all.
On the day of the murder, Bradley sent Katie a text saying, "I love you, you're everything to me." This, I think, shows just how manipulative and even sociopathic Bradley Rawlinson actually was.
In 2014, Bradley Rawlinson is found guilty of murder and receives a minimum of 27 years behind bars.
Bradley was pulling everybody's strings. He set up Katie to be murdered by Wendy.
The hired help, Bernard Spicer, also guilty of murder and sentenced to a minimum of 24 years.
This is perhaps the most complex and tangled web that I've ever faced.
Wendy Evans pleads guilty to murder and receives 24 years in prison with a minimum of 18.
This was a murder motivated by jealousy and revenge, and that's a story as old as time. Wendy was involved with every aspect of this crime. Wendy is a deadly, deadly woman.
Next, for some, the grass is always greener.
It was boring. She didn't want to be there.
On the other side,
she wanted to be in a bigger place of bright people and brighter lights.
And they'll do whatever it takes.
Don't be shy.
To get there.
She wanted to be free, and this was how to do it.
Want to know more about the women featured in tonight's episode? Visit us online. In 1898, on the streets of Hoosick Falls, in upstate New York, 15-year-old Mary Bennett is not like other girls.
Mary was definitely very eccentric. She was the point of ridicule for many people. Because she acted differently, she was a different kind of soul.
Stop it! Stop it!
She was her own person. She did what she wanted.
Hey, get away from her!
When local farmhand, 27-year-old Marcus Rogers, comes to her rescue, he instantly falls for the teenage beauty.
Here, let me escort you, in case they come back.
Thank you.
Mary Rogers was a lovely woman, a striking appearance. He just thought the world revolved around her, and he wanted to give her everything that he could.
And that suits Mary. Before her 16th birthday, they marry and move to a farm.
I know it's not much.
But it's ours, and that's all that matters. We'll make it look like a palace.
Meeting this man 12 years her senior who had a job, she thought that that was the ticket out.
Mary,
Yes,
I love you.
I love you too.
Marcus was a kind and gentle man, but he wasn't very smart, and he certainly wasn't smart about people.
In the spring of 1901, the young bride becomes a young mother. A daughter, Helen. But Mary's maternal instinct doesn't kick in.
She was just too immature to handle it and too selfish to care.
Will you be quiet?
When baby Helen is just 6 months old, there is a tragic accident.
Mary came running out of the house, screaming to the neighbors that her daughter was dead. Mary had dropped the baby on the ground. She was deceased.
I highly doubt that Mary dropped her daughter. She probably threw her.
Marcus is devastated. He doted on that little baby girl. It was Daddy's little girl, and he loved her to death.
But Mary is not one for grieving.
Oh, this will make a beautiful dress.
And won't be held responsible.
Our child isn't cold in her grave.
The only emotion Mary expresses is anger.
Don't you dare blame me.
Mary, I'm not blaming you.
I heard you.
Mary.
Mary,
Mary, please! Mary, calm down!
Mary always abused Marcus. Many fights where Mary had verbally abused Marcus and also physically abused him.
I don't leave me! You leave me! Don't touch me! Don't touch me!
Free of her child, Mary now wants to be free of her husband.
She did not want to live on a farm. She did not want to be with Marcus.
Did you go into town today?
I did go to town today.
She moves to town looking for excitement.
That sounds boring. You should have come with me.
I can't do that.
Mary was a person who always wanted to be in a bigger place of bright people and brighter lights.
Mary's busy. Leave her alone.
She gets a job in a rooming house as a maid and starts charming the owner's two sons.
Hi. Oh, aren't you a good boy?
That's right.
Levi, who was 24, and Leon, who was 17.
Okay, you two, out.
The Perham brothers soon fall under her spell and into her bed.
She did start affairs with both Levi and Leon.
Sorry.
No, I've been waiting for you.
Really?
She approached Levi first.
Would you like to keep me company?
Yeah.
But one brother isn't enough. She seduces Leon.
Don't be shy.
Along came Leon, far more impressionable,
I'll teach you.
far more interested in sex because he was far less experienced. And he was just idolizing Mary.
Mary could easily have been seen as a slut.
You ready?
By the community standards of 1902, it was outrageous behavior.
Mary wants to start a new life, but two young lovers aren't going to pay the rent. She needs money.
I hope you'll be comfortable here.
Everything looks fine. Thank you.
Along comes a new boarder, Morris Knapp.
Morris came for money. He had everything that Mary ever wanted.
Come in.
Mary didn't feel shame, regret, remorse for anything she did, especially laying down with men.
I thought you might like some company.
I would.
But she wants more than sex.
Maybe this is the guy that can give me the life I've been looking for.
Mary constantly asking him about marriage.
Mary's in a hurry to walk down the aisle.
We're gonna get married, aren't we?
You know I'm not the settling kind.
But she fails to mention one little stumbling block. she's still married to Marcus.
When people asked her who Marcus was who came to visit her, she said, "Oh, that's my brother."
Oh, why don't I catch up with you later? I see my brother.
Marcus desperately wants to be reunited with Mary.
Poor Marcus. He didn't realize Mary basically was trying to get shed of him completely.
Leave me alone.
Well, Mary was in a rock and a hard place. She had met Morris Knapp. She had fallen in love with Morris, but yet she couldn't get Marcus out of the picture.
For Marcus, marriage meant till death do us part. He had no idea how right he was.
Bennington, Vermont, in 1902. Mary Rogers has 3 lovers. Now she's paying the price.
Mary found herself pregnant. She had no clue who the father was. It could have been one of the Pirhams. It could have been Morris Knapp.
But she knows who she wants to be with.
Morris Knapp. To win him over and get him to marry her and give her baby a father.
But Mary's still married to Marcus. She needs him out of the way permanently and turns to her young lover for help.
I don't think I can.
I go right through.
Leon would do anything for Mary. He was absolutely enthralled with her.
On the night of August 12th, Mary invites her estranged husband to town.
He jumped at the opportunity to spend time with her again.
She said that she actually might be up for reconciling and moving back to Hoosick Falls.
Mary.
Leon! Hi, Leon, this is my husband, Marcus.
Marcus is so overjoyed. He doesn't even mind when Leon turns up.
Would you like to join us?
Sure.
Marcus had his head in Mary's lap, and she was stroking his hair and stroking his head, telling him how much she loved him and how it would be wonderful to start over again.
Oh, Marcus, I have to show you a trick I learned. Dee, get up.
Mary suggests they perform a rope trick, made famous by the legendary magician of the day, Houdini.
Sure.
Marcus, of course, laughed about it, and he was completely game.
Mary was able to lull Marcus into a false sense of security about the rope trick.
So Leon started to tie Marcus's hands behind his back. While he was doing this, Mary removed the chloroform from her bosom with the handkerchief.
Hey, sweetheart.
With his hands bound, Marcus is at the mercy of his wife.
The more he struggled, the more he breathed in the chloroform.
Get on his legs, Leon.
It was a matter of moments later, Marcus was dead.
Mary told Marcus as she was poisoning him with chloroform, "This will set you free." But Mary was the one that wanted to be free.
They took the ropes off of his hands. They rolled him into the river.
Now Mary adds her finishing touch, making the murder look like a suicide.
The suicide note said he had taken his life because he just couldn't deal with life anymore. And he wrote a final wish. Mary, I hope you're happy.
I'd like to cash this, please.
Just 24 hours later, Mary makes her next move on the money.
Marcus had only been dead maybe a day when Mary was already at the Metropolitan Insurance Company trying to collect.
One characteristic of a psychopath is they are either unwilling or unable to put off long-term gain in favor of the immediate quick fix. That's why Mary tried to get the life insurance the next day.
I'm sorry, ma'am. There is a police investigation on this case. I can't cash this.
An autopsy finds no water in Marcus's lungs.
What are you talking about?
I'm sorry, ma'am. There's nothing I can do.
The police suspect foul play. And Mary's power over men starts to unravel.
An inquest was done. At the inquest, Leon Parham broke down and admitted everything.
Leon told the authorities that he just doesn't know why he did it. He can't make sense of it. But he just couldn't stand that look in Mary's eyes when she was disappointed in him.
Leon Parham is convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. As the mastermind, Mary is sentenced to death by hanging. In 1905, she goes to the gallows. Her attempt to murder her way to a better life ends in her death.
If Mary had spent the same amount of time educating herself and improving her situation as she did in the sack with men, she might have had a good life. But that wouldn't have been any fun.
These deadly women liked company. Monique Berkeley loved new adventures more than her husband. Wendy Evans put a match to her former friend. And Mary Rogers wanted a wealthy lover, not life on the farm. For all three, death slipped easily off the tongue when they asked, "Will you murder for me?"